Y'all want to see what real nightmares are made of? Take a look at my back porch. Yeah, that's what I'm living with. You think you can scare me? You can try. Talk spooky to me. Well, hello, my spooky friends. Yeah, I have been a bit distracted. I've got so much going on. I'm going to show you little bits and pieces of my nightmare around the house. But right now, we're going to talk about your spooky stories that you have sent in and some of the comments that you've been putting on some of my videos. All right? To catch you up, it has been insane. And I'm just going to be honest with you, I don't know when I'm going to get back on a schedule. Maybe when we get staffed at work. And I get people trained and we get maybe I can start filming in May. Okay, that's my target goal. But for right now, it's just going to be hit or miss. And on one or other of the channels that I have, I'm going to be sharing my nightmare because I had a little bipolar moment, I guess. That's what my son said. And I just decided on Family Day, let's just rip it all out. I need to redo my porch. And yeah, that's what we did. And now I'm living the nightmare. But it's going to be good. So let's dive right in, and we're going to start with a comment by Samantha. I think this is Samantha Springman. I tried to get back to the original, and I'm not sure. So if it's not you, Samantha Springman, I'm not sure. But that's who I think made this comment. And this says, my mama saw something in a dumpster late at night. It was taller than the dumpster. Locals called it a woolly booger. Now that is something that I heard in a joke one time. Oh, that's my alarm going off. Sorry about that. She said its eyes shine like human eyes, not animal. She said it was taller than a bear, but it wasn't a bear. Someone interviewed her for a book. Our family are dog people. She never described anything looking dog-like, but she never called it Bigfoot or a Sasquatch either. I'm really fascinated by this story because I'm wondering who interviewed her. And I'm also wondering how long ago that might have been that she got interviewed, because I know that Linda Godfrey went around interviewing people that saw strange cryptids. If you don't know, Linda Godfrey passed away, I don't know, in the last few years, but she wrote I think it was a best-selling book, The Beast of Bray Road. They did a documentary movie of it, and she also went on to write a whole lot of books about cryptids. Now, just to give you a brief synopsis, Linda Godfrey was living up in Wisconsin. She was a serious reporter, and they had her go out and do this story on a sighting that these people had on Bray Road. And, she was kind of rolling her eyes. Oh my God, like what reporter wants to write what you would think is kind of like a hoax story, right? So she goes out and she interviews. And as she is doing this interview, she's like really amazed because the person that she interviewed, who wanted to remain anonymous, was not a hoax type person. This was someone in the community who was known and, not fantastical. And they drew a picture of the beast that they saw. And it was soon followed by other very believable reports. And so they just called it the Beast of Bray Road, which now, as she went on and on, this became her career, is following these leads. And of course, there were a lot of people that were not believable, but a ton that were. And it is one of the most documented historians of people who saw what we now know as dogmen. And so she followed this all over the country, and as she did, she came across people who also saw other cryptids. So go check out her story. It is fascinating, and the book is called The Beast of Bray Road. And it just makes me wonder, Samantha, if, since it was tall and had almost man-like eyes, they say that Dogman, they don't really say that it has humanoid-like eyes, but that it has that kind of intelligence. So I wonder if it was that kind of cryptid, being that tall, although this is much taller than men. If it was the intelligence in the eyes that your mom saw, or was it some other kind of cryptid that might have been documented in one of Linda Godfrey's other books. I don't know. I would love to hear some more information. If you have some, put it down in the comments or email me. I would love to hear that story. But let's go on and let's talk about some more comments that you have sent me, some more stories, maybe on other videos. Okay, and this one is sent in by men. I lived in a very negative place for 15 years. I would see, that's a long time, wow. I would see dark shadows move very quickly from my peripheral vision. I would feel a heaviness, a dark energy. I used to take photos of my places. Big transparent orbs would appear in my photos. I once came home to find 1,000 or more red-eye insects on my patio. I freaked out, began spraying them with bug spray. I came to find out that over 25 people had passed. I do believe a portal had been opened. I stayed as I had nowhere to live. I will never forget the experiences. Oh my goodness, man, I am so sorry. You know, that's the thing. A lot of people say, well, why did you stay there? Sometimes you literally have no choice. And then, you talk yourself out of it. You maybe sometimes have periods of time where it's not so bad and you're like, okay, I can deal with this. And you don't really realize how heavy the energy is in a place until you leave. Literally, I've been places that I've thought, oh, it's not too bad. I'll live with it for a little while longer. I really can't afford to move right now. And you don't realize until you get somewhere else and you feel like 1,000 pounds has been lifted from your shoulders. But 15 years, that is a very long time. What do you think, Scully? I didn't even say hello to you today. Scully says hi. And I think he knows. Scully came from a pretty negative place. He's really chill here, though. And red orbs outside. I don't know what the red eye orbs are. And I don't know where you were that 25 people had passed. That is a lot of people. So I don't know if the place that you lived was like an apartment building, or I can't imagine unless there was an accident or something there, a fire. But that is a lot of tragedy, certainly, to be in that place. Wow. Glad you got out of there. And thanks for sharing that. Okay, here's another one by Katie Frankie 6. I have one about dying at a certain time. Remember how we talked about that? It's sad. Last week I attended a memorial open house for this sweet former police officer who was our high school's school resource officer when I was a kid, Officer Ken. He had been diagnosed with MS and was able to manage his illness well. Just as he was really turning a corner, he contracted a very rare cancer in his appendix. It was that cancer that took him out. So heartbreaking. He was a wonderful person, a great cop, and a talented woodworker, and a restorationist, and a beloved friend to many. He'd restored a decommissioned church into a home for himself and his wife, and that's where we gathered to honor him. Such a heartbreak, but it seems that Officer Ken's time on Earth was fixed, and that was just how it all was going to go. I was having this discussion with my son just this week about that same thing. And as I am freaking out about the things they're putting in our food, and that's something I get into sometimes on my other channel, and a lot of my things that I am freaking out about is reading the ingredients and the stuff that we're eating, and that I've been studying. I mean, if you want a horror story, it's not the ghost stories that I tell. It is the truth about, but okay, I'm not even going to go there, all right? This is spooky stories. But I was talking about that, and because we're trying to find somewhere to go out to eat, you just run through the drive-thru, and I'm like, no, that's on the death list. No, we can't go here. It's on the death list. And he's like, I feel like you're going to die when you're going to die, and there's really nothing you can do about it. And while I disagree that and feel that we should eat healthier, I do have to agree because of some of the things I said in my other video when I worked at the cancer center, and how I saw people in remission literally pass away from the most crazy circumstances, things that you never saw coming, car accidents, whatever, at the exact same time that they were predicted to pass away from cancer, but they went into remission, and it wasn't the cancer that they passed away from. It was something else. I mean, I could tell you so many stories. There was one gentleman that had a very bad prognosis, and then all of a sudden, he surprised everyone, went into remission, and he had several clean PET scans. And if y'all know anything about it, you may have a clean PET, and then 3 months later, it may all come back. Well, he had several clean PET scans, and he was doing really well. And then he was in good health. And all of a sudden, he had a very strange, awkward fall that broke his hip. Okay, a lot of people break their hip. That's not a big deal, usually. But his got necrotic, all right? And it was not really found for a while. So they fixed his hip, but there was a necrosis. I mean, there was a dying tissue in there that they didn't find when they fixed his hip. That is a little more odd. So he had to go back into the hospital, kept having all this pain in his hip, which was not normal for his recovery. Goes into the hospital, and while he's in the hospital, contracts pneumonia and passes away in at the period that they had originally given him. Okay, you've got whatever, 6, 7, 8 months, whatever they said originally. This is about what we expect the cancer to take you out. It was the darndest thing. That's just one of many stories I could tell you. Other times, car wrecks. That happened at least 3 or 4 times. It just crazy things. And so, I have to wonder, are we on a schedule? You go back into the Bible and, you look at King Hezekiah. God told him, hey, it's time to die. And it makes me wonder, what would I do? There's people that preach that in different ways. I look at it like, if you see the rest of his life and the things that happened, and it wasn't that he didn't have a good life for 15 more years, but the things that happened afterwards would have been prevented had he just said, you know what, okay, you said it's time to die, let me check out. That's a whole sermon. I'm not here to preach to you. What I am here to say is that, would you, and let me ask you this question, would you be willing to say, if you knew it was your time to go, would you be okay with saying, okay, God, I'm just going to go. I'm not going to fight this. I'm just going to go. Let's check out. I'm given the choice. What would you choose? There's always that big question. Should you stay or should you go? Somebody wrote a song like that. All right. Have a few more things to talk about. And this one is from Lady Rose Winters. When I was a child, I had several episodes of sleepwalking in my home, but only when I was sick, usually with a fever. When I lived in Houston, a friend who lived near a railroad track would sleepwalk. One night, the train's horn woke her screaming beside the tracks. It was very unsettling for her and her roommates. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's one thing to sleepwalk. It's another thing when the horn that wakes you up screaming. Well, I am certainly glad that everything turned out to be okay. Wow, I can't imagine waking up next to a train track and realizing that you almost got run over. That is horrifying. I hope her sleepwalking days are done, and I hope mine are too. But let's go on. If you remember, this has been months ago. I showed you the kitty cat picture. Remember Hermione Granger, the kitty cat? Big fluffy thing. Okay, Katie Frankie sent this in and she said, my niece had the same thing happen. We're talking about the boy who fell off the cliff, okay? My niece had the same thing happen as the boy who fell off of the cliff. This is Hermione Granger Taylor's family, by the way, for those of who remember the story of my sister's beautiful kitty. My twin sister was busy raising her three girls, ages 6, 4, and 18 months. The youngest stood up in her high chair, and the older two yelled, Mom! Eliza's standing up in her high chair again. Before my sister could run to grab her littlest girl, Eliza toppled head first, oh no, over the side of her high chair. In mid-air, something turned her around and gently set her on the floor. My sister grabbed her and held her tight, scolding her for standing up when she knew she shouldn't, also thanking God for the miracle she just witnessed. Those girls. So, yes, very definitely that was a miracle. You know, on the cliff, I wasn't sure of those ghost stories, whether that was an angelic encounter or whether we were talking about that spirit that was kind of punking people, too, right? But wow, what a thing to see in midair, to actually see that happening. That is amazing. And how cool is that? And I think we have another miracle story. And then I have a comment from one of you, and I accidentally hurt your feelings, and I'm sorry. Let's talk about that one too. Okay, this one comes from Kirk, and you've told me how to say this name before, and I can't remember. But you can see it up there, and I don't want to add insult to injury by getting it wrong again. But it says, Hey Silky, I'm deeply insulted. I had sent you a true story from my childhood that's 100% true, and instead you put on corny stories from other people instead. That Granny Doll story is 100% true. I'm 71 years old and don't lie about anything. I'm so truthful I hurt people's feelings as they don't want to know the truth. Okay, Kirk, I don't have the story of the Granny Doll. I don't know if... I don't know. That sounds like a very interesting story. And if you sent it recently, I don't know if it went to another folder, if it went to I've looked everywhere for a story about a granny doll, because a granny doll, that sounds very intriguing, just the name of that. I don't know what a granny doll is. If you will send it to me again, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. I don't get that many stories, so I would absolutely share your stories. I'm always looking for stories. So I have no idea. Sometimes it might go in a spam folder. If it doesn't usually, if it's a personal, like from a personal email, but I don't know what happened. I really don't. I even looked in, I have a backup email that spam doesn't usually go to, and I didn't see it in there either, so I don't know what happened, but I didn't get it. Otherwise, I would be glad to share your story. I know I've shared either stories or comments from you before because I didn't know how to pronounce your name correctly. So please send it to me again. I would love to hear it. So sorry. Absolutely not ignoring you. Okay, let's go to this one by Seriously Whimsical. I think that's what this is. Again, it got caught. I don't know. I couldn't get back to just the original one. It says, I woke up to a ghost at the end of my bed laughing. Don't think that is any better than yelling, to be honest. Okay, I would really love some context to this. I mean, like, have you seen this ghost before? Have you heard this ghost before? Has it done anything else, or are you just like, this is the first encounter, it's just laughing? I don't know. I don't think that's any better. I think waking up to a ghost at the end of your bed doing anything, even just sitting there, is it's just a no. Okay. Just a no. And I agree with Sarah that says, I included this comment, that sounds terrifying. I agree. A ghost doing anything at the end of my bed. in the middle of the night waking me up. Yeah. That's a big no for me, dog. So, yeah. Just in case y'all thought that a ghost yelling at the end of your bed, yeah, I mean, that's a no. That's a no. But yeah, I'm thinking, laughing, this is almost insulting, too. It's not any better. Like, what are you laughing at? Is it my hair? Is it my hair? Was I snoring? Am I drooling? Because that could be happening, too. I'm just saying. All right. But let's go on. Let's finish this up. Okay, this is by Helene Louise. I had sleep paralysis for most of my life. I was prayed for by a faith healer and it stopped. I thought it was a neurological problem. I'm really glad that's over. Well, I'm glad it's over too. If you've never had sleep paralysis, it is horrifying. It is very terrifying. I've had one encounter with it. Some people experience it more than once. It is terrifying. But it made me stop and think. Myself, I have had many things healed by faith healers throughout when I was a kid into adulthood. You know, healing has always been for me very commonplace, okay? It is not, I mean, yes, it's miraculous every single time. But as far as it being odd, no, it hasn't been. I mean, you're glad when it happens, but it's happened to me so much throughout my life. It made me wonder how many of you have had good encounters. I'm not talking about the fake charlatans, and maybe that's what you see more these days. I don't know. But if you have a good story of, maybe it was back in the day, I just make curious if you have a story of you or someone that you know who was 100% had a miracle like that. Maybe you want to share it. Just a thought. But I'd like to hear it. And the last one of the day, and let me see if I get this right. Is it Shakti Flow? Shakti Flow? I think this is right. I'm not sure. If I got that name wrong, I'm sorry. Something similar happened to one of my cousins who was pregnant for a child who had a heart that was not quite developed. And of course, this is in response to another video that we had about miracles. And several ultrasounds confirmed this. The doctors told her that the baby would only live for a few hours and then pass away. She cried every day and was told that she would have to carry the pregnancy full term. And that's hard, y'all. But that's what they usually make you do. So, since it was too complicated to do otherwise. Then one day, a nun approached my cousin. The nun didn't know my cousin nor anything about her baby. The nun told her that she was psychic and a medium, and that God had a message for my cousin that her baby would be healed because of her prayers. The baby was born perfectly. So, what do y'all think of that? Definitely, there is more to this world than we could possibly understand or know. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. There's a good scary and then there's a bad scary. It's all fascinating. But I want to hear your stories, because those are the best kind, the kind you tell, especially if you are in the medical field. Those are by far my favorite stories. And there's stuff around here all the time. Half the time I don't even write it down anymore because it's just, different knocks, different stuff all the time. And, there's still stuff at work. But the paranormal has now just become the normal. It's just like, okay, you guys, just be quiet. Bring it down a little bit. Right, Scully? We got time for this? All right, I hope you have a great week. Stay safe out there. Whatever you do, just stay spooky. Bye-bye.